One of the first considerations if you're going to establish a home site, off-grid per se, or off the normal city water, sewage, power, whatnot, is where you're going to get your water from, where you're going to get your electricity if you're going to use it, and how you're going to deal with your sanitation. Today I'm just going to show you a little bit how we've set up our water and kind of where we've come from and where we are now. Up on the hill you can see a blue tank. That's where our water arrives. It actually comes from about a quarter-mile away, downhill about 150 meters. And we'll go there in just a second. But you can see I'm gravity feeding the house through this pipe. It's kind of temporary, as most things. Temporary has been around for about 6 years now. Well, not really, about 5 years. We were here 2 years before that got set up. As that blue tank fills up, it overflows, comes down that black pipe, and it fills in this reservoir. That's about 8,000 liters. The one up top is 1,000 liters, and we use that mainly to supply the house. We fill it up about every 3 days, so it never gets below half. But as we continue to pump water up and that fills up, then we fill up this reservoir. We use this for cloudy days, obviously, where we're not pumping up, and we also use it to feed this tank a little bit lower, gravity fed again, to use for irrigation for the plants up here around the house. So now we'll take a walk and we'll go down to our transfer station where the water arrives about halfway up the hill and stored before it comes up to the house. When we first arrived here and even when we were building the house, water was kind of a challenge. One of the first things we did was to collect it from a river, which is about 3 miles away, and bring it up in buckets, or not buckets, barrels on the back of the truck. 500, 750 liters at a time. That got a little bit strenuous. We do have a well on site, but at that time we weren't able to get the water from the well into our truck, at least for the first few months, and then we got that solved and figured out. But for the first couple of years, we actually came down to the well, and if you look from here, I don't know if you can see it on this camera, but way down there you'll see a little small house with a clay tile roof. That's our pump house. It's about a quarter-mile away, and like I said, down about 100 meters, 150 meters. We're going to take a walk halfway in between here and there. So that bird in the background is actually a goose-type creature called a Sadiema, who sounds like he's laughing hysterically. It always puts a smile on my face when I hear them. So, like I was saying, a couple of years into the program, and we are still collecting our water for our house, for everything we do, in 2 barrels. One of them was 100 liter, the other one was 250 liters in a truck. Sometimes we take the truck down here 2 times a day and fill those up and bring them up to the house. We were operating out of buckets for a while, and then we got that blue tank up the hill, where we started with, and was actually taking water up to that bucket or up to that barrel in buckets to gravity feed the house. That was the first setup. The pump that we had was a diesel motor, and it was pulling out of a well 30 meters in the ground. that's great, and that brought it up to the surface. And we actually tried using that motor to pump up to the house, but it didn't work so well because it had so much pressure that we needed a pipe big enough to deal with that initial pressure and then pump it up to the house. But as it went farther away from the pump, of course, more water in the pipe and whatnot, and that became stressful on the pipe connections as well as the motor itself, the pump itself. So there's a balance there. I mean, it's nice to have strong pressure at the beginning, but you've got to be able to deal with that volume of water as it tries to go up this hill. So that was one issue. The other issue is a diesel motor isn't really a sustainable way of doing things. It takes fuel. It has moving parts that are obviously going to wear out. Of course, any pump does, but we're trying to minimize that. So we transferred over to solar about 1.5 years ago and put this system that we have now in place. And it's been working beautifully ever since. The solar panels provide just enough water flow to pump it up in a small enough pipe that it keeps the volume of water down to where it doesn't become a weight issue or a pressure issue back towards the pump. So far it's working beautifully. I mean, we did have to put a transfer station in the middle because the pump wasn't strong enough to make it all the way to the house. But that has its own benefits also, because again, now we have water stored that we can gravity feed back down if we need it. So we're arriving here at the transfer station. You can see the solar panels in another tank. These tanks we made out of chicken wire and cement, paper mache style. Really pretty neat. Wish we would have videotaped doing that, but we'll build more in the future. So we'll show that. I've got some pictures of them. This pipe here is where the water is arriving from. Again, down at the little pump house, where it comes from. And this is kind of our primitive little solar setup. Nothing fancy. Solar panels directly to a switch, directly to a small pump, which is in this little pump house, again made out of chicken wire and paper mache, or well, chicken wire cement, kind of paper mache style. And we have water arriving probably. Yeah, we're just about full, which is good. Water coming in. I don't want it to get too full. So I want to be able to keep water in it to keep it from cracking, but at the same time, I don't want it overflowing. And to pump water up to the house is as simple as this. We'll let that pump for a few hours and we'll come back down and turn it off. Normally we let it run about a half a day. So the pump down at the well house, it stays running because this pump here actually pumps a little bit faster, more volume per hour than the one down there. So we kind of back and forth with this one here. We leave that one running. And that's our water system for now. The upper part is still kind of temporary, and there's still some things to change with it and to maintain on it. But for now, that's what we're doing for water.